Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to explain the concept of game object and how we can create some primitive basic game object in Unity editor. The game object is the most important concept in Unity editor. Every object in a game is a game object, from character to collectible item to lights, camera and special effect. Like here in this scene you can see that there are three game objects. We can see from the hierarchy window that there is a main camera, there is a bird and there is a background in this scene. So we have three game objects in this scene. Next, every game object have its properties. When I select this bird game object from the hierarchy menu, on the right side you can see there are different options or properties of this game object in inspector menu. Like there is transform, there is sprite renderer, there is animation, there is circle collider. These are all components added to this bird game object. If I want to create a new game object, I just have to click right and create empty. And this is going to create an empty game object in your scene. Now there are four game objects in this scene: main camera, bird, background and this game object which is empty at the moment and there are no component attached to it. Now we have created this empty game object. When we create an empty game object, there will be a transform component attached to it. Every game object in Unity have transform component. Transform components show the position, rotation and scale value of a game object. Like you can see there are some values on X, Y axis of each of the position, rotation or scale. You can change the values from here. Like for example, I want to change the scale of this game object on X-axis. I will write 5 here and you can see that the scale of the game object have changed to 5 on X-axis. I will undo it. Second way, if you want to change the position, rotation or scale of a game object, you can use the toolbar on the right top corner. You can select the second option here from here and you can change the position of a game object by this arrow. If you want to rotate it, select the third option and you can rotate your game object. And you can also see that the values on the transform component is being changed. You can also scale the size by selecting this fourth option. You can change this by selecting this square at the end of this. Well, another thing is the color on this arrow represent the axis. Like if I go to the 3D view, the green color represent the y-axis, the red color represent the x-axis and the blue color represent the z-axis. And you can also see this from this gizmo, that if I change it like this, you can see that X is the red color, Y is the green color and Z is the blue color. I will go back to the 2D view and I will now explain how you can create some primitive game object in Unity editor. Right now we have created an empty game object here, which is this game object, which we cannot see here because there is nothing added to this game object. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some primitive game object. For creating a primitive game object, click right on the hierarchy menu and select 2D object from here. Go to sprite and you can create a sphere from here. I will click on the sphere and you can see a sphere on the screen. Now, if you can see the properties of this sphere game object, you can see that there is a sprite renderer added to it. The sprite renderer component is specifically for 2D object on which we add sprites. Sprite is a 2D game object in a scene. Okay, so we can change the color of this game object from here. We can flip it. Right now it's a sphere, so we cannot see whether it's flipped or not, and we can do some other thing from here. The sprite renderer is specifically for 2D game object in Unity. Now I can also create another primitive game object, like if I want to create a circle, I will go to 2D object, I will go to sprite, and I can create a circle. Now you can see a circle is being added to our scene. If I want to create another game object, I will go to 2D object, I will go to sprite, and I will create a capsule from here. A capsule is being created. Now if I want to create an isometric diamond, I can just go to same and I can see that a diamond is being created. Okay, these are the primitive game object I have created. Now if I want to add any component to these objects, for example, I want to add rigid body to this component. How can I add it? I will explain rigid body in later videos. Right now I will just explain how can you add a component to your game object. You just have to select your game object and you can see all the properties of the game object. I will change the color of this object to black, and you can see it have turned to black. Now if I want to add a component or a property to this game object, I have to go on this add component button. I have to click on this button, and you can see there are a lot of components you can add to this game object. Like you can add 2D animation components, audio effects, event, layout, mesh, navigation. Okay, I want to add a rigid body component. I will select the physics 2D and I will simply add a rigid body 2D component to the game object. Well, just to give you an idea, a rigid body component add physical behavior to a game object, mean it will have some mass, it will be affected by gravity. Now if I'm going to run the game, you can see the game object will go down. Look, the game object is gone. Why? Because physics is being added to this game object as we have added the rigid body. I will go down and you can see the game object is going down and down and down because rigid body is added and it is affected by gravity. And you can also change the gravity scale from here. If you are going to lessen the gravity scale, it will go slower, and if you will increase the gravity scale, it will go faster down. Just like we have created this 2D game object, primitive game object, we can also create 3D primitive game object. Like if I want to create a 3D primitive game object, I have to right click here, and then I can go to 3D object and I can create a cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, quad, and all of these objects in the as 3D primitive game object. If I want to create a cube, I will just select this cube from here, and you can see a cube is being added to my hierarchy menu and also to the view. I will just change it to 3D view, and you can see here that there is a cube here in the scene. Well, there is a difference between a 3D object and a 2D object. In 2D object, the main component is sprite renderer, while in 3D object the main component is mesh renderer and mesh filter. So mesh renderer will always be attached to a 3D game object to make it a 3D object, and it have 3 dimension. It is on X, Y, Z axis. Same like this, I can create a 3D sphere from here. Like here is a 3D sphere, and I can create a 3D cylinder. So that's how you can create 3D and 2D game object in Unity Editor. Thank you.